Hey everyone, and welcome back to The History of. Today, we're aiming our sights at a topic that has profoundly shaped civilizations, influenced conflicts, and forever altered the course of human progress, the fascinating, and at times terrifying, history of guns. From simple, fiery tubes to complex, precision instruments, the evolution of firearms is a testament to human ingenuity and the constant pursuit of power. So, get ready to explore how an accidental discovery in ancient China led to some of the most impactful inventions in history. The story of guns begins not with a bang, but with a fizz, and a few surprised alchemists. Way back in the 9th century CE, in Imperial China, Taoist alchemists were diligently searching for an elixir of immortality. Their quest led them to mix charcoal, saltpeter, potassium nitrate, and sulfur. What they got wasn't eternal life, but something far more explosive, gunpowder. Initially, this volatile new substance was used for fireworks, creating spectacular displays for emperors, and even for rudimentary medicine. Imagine, the very ingredient that would power cannons and rifles was first seen as a party trick or a strange cure. But it wasn't long before its true potential became apparent. By the 10th to 12th centuries CE, Chinese innovators started applying gunpowder to warfare. Their first foray wasn't a gun as we know it, but rather the fire lance. This was essentially a bamboo or metal tube, often attached to a spear, filled with gunpowder and sometimes small projectiles like pebbles or iron scraps. When ignited, it would belch flames and smoke, acting more as a flamethrower or a shock weapon than a true projectile launcher. It was primitive, but it was the vital first step down a path that would change warfare forever. The fire lance, while impactful, had its limitations. It was loud, scary, but not very effective at hitting a distant target. However, Chinese engineers were quick learners. By the late 13th century CE, they made a monumental leap. They developed what historians consider the first true guns. These were metal-barreled firearms designed specifically to fire a single projectile that actually occluded, or filled, the barrel, focusing the explosive force. This was a crucial design change. One of the earliest and most compelling examples of these true guns is the Heilongjiang hand cannon, discovered in China and dated to 1288 CE. This was a small, bronze-barreled weapon, essentially a mini-cannon that could be held, or perhaps braced, by an individual. It was slow to load, wildly inaccurate, and notoriously unreliable, often as dangerous to the user as to the enemy. But its invention marked a pivotal moment. Gunpowder was now officially a propellant, capable of launching solid objects with lethal force. The concept of personal firearms had just been born, thousands of miles away from where they would later dominate battlefields. The technology of gunpowder and these early firearms couldn't stay contained. Through various channels, most likely the bustling trade routes of the Silk Road and the fearsome expansion of the Mongol invasions, gunpowder technology began its westward migration. By the 14th century CE, evidence of guns started appearing in the Middle East and, critically, in Europe. It arrived with a bang, literally. One of the earliest recorded uses of the term gun in a Latin document dates to 1339, and a depiction of a large cannon appeared in a European manuscript as early as 1326. Initially, these European firearms were crude, often massive cannons, used more for siege warfare than for individual combat. But by the late 14th century, European blacksmiths and engineers, particularly in regions like Italy and France, began miniaturizing these behemoths. They developed smaller, more portable versions known as hand cannons or schioppi. These were essentially metal tubes, often with a simple touch hole for ignition, mounted on a wooden stick. You'd load it from the muzzle, ignite the powder with a hot wire or match, and hope for the best. They were clunky, unwieldy, and required immense bravery to operate, but they were the ancestors of every pistol and rifle we know today. The sound of their crude discharge heralded the dawn of a new era of warfare, forever changing the face of conflict. The 15th century in Europe brought a crucial change that began to standardize the personal firearm, the matchlock gun, appearing around 1450. This was a monumental leap. No more needing a separate hot wire, the matchlock introduced a simple mechanism, a trigger, that lowered a serpentine-shaped arm holding a burning slow match onto the priming powder. It was the first true integrated firing system, making the gun a somewhat reliable weapon that soldiers could aim and fire with greater consistency. The impact was swift. Firearms, particularly the improved arquebus, began to decide the outcome of major European battles in the early 16th century. Armies now formed lines, unleashing devastating volleys of fire, fundamentally altering centuries-old combat tactics. For centuries, the basic flintlock mechanism, which replaced the matchlock in the late 17th century by creating a reliable spark with flint striking steel, remained the dominant ignition system. Though an improvement, it was still prone to misfires in wet weather. That changed drastically in the early 19th century with the invention of the percussion cap system by Scottish clergyman Alexander Forsyth. This small, self-contained cap exploded when struck, igniting the main powder charge much more reliably in all weather conditions. This was a colossal step forward in firearm dependability, making them truly viable for mass military use. The mid-19th century was an explosion of innovation, fueled by the Industrial Revolution. In the USA, Samuel Colt popularized the revolver with his multi-shot, rapid-firing handguns, starting in the 1830s. Simultaneously, the cumbersome process of muzzle loading from the front, was being replaced by breech-loading firearms, where soldiers could now reload from the rear of the barrel. This dramatically increased the rate of fire and their tactical advantage in combat. The late 19th century truly solidified the modern firearm. The invention of the metallic cartridge was a monumental leap forward. This innovation combined the bullet, propellant, and primer into a single, self-contained unit. This meant faster, more reliable reloading, making repeating rifles like the legendary Winchester incredibly effective. No more fumbling with loose powder and balls. But the most terrifying and revolutionary invention of this era was the machine gun. Building on earlier rapid-fire concepts, Hiram Maxim unveiled his fully automatic Maxim gun in 1884. Using the gun's own recoil energy to cycle subsequent rounds, it could fire hundreds of rounds per minute, a rate of fire previously unimaginable. To top it off, in 1884, smokeless powder was invented. This new propellant burned cleanly, producing far less smoke which used to obscure battlefields, and significantly reducing recoil. The groundwork for 20th century warfare, with its rapid fire, highly destructive weapons, was now terrifyingly complete. The 20th century witnessed guns evolve at an unprecedented pace, driven by 2 world wars. The machine gun quickly became a dominant, devastating force in World War I, leading to the brutal trench warfare. World War II brought about the invention that would influence all subsequent military rifles, the German STG-44 assault rifle. This weapon combined the rapid fire of a submachine gun with the range of a rifle. Post-World War II, the Cold War era birthed 2 of the most iconic and widely produced firearms globally, the Soviet AK-47, renowned for its rugged reliability, and the American AR-15/M16 platform, featuring lightweight materials and modularity. These 2 designs alone reshaped global militaries. As we moved into the 21st century, the evolution shifted away from fundamental new weapon types and towards refinement, materials, and integration. We saw the increasing use of lightweight polymer materials in firearm frames, notably popularized by the Austrian Glock pistol starting in the 1980s. Today, the focus is on modularity and advanced technology. The individual rifle has become a highly customizable system, integrating cutting-edge optics and accessories like red dot sights and thermal imaging, allowing for unprecedented accuracy.